following case involves real events and unsolved mysteries. Based on factual reporting, it explores disturbing circumstances. Viewer discretion is advised. The darkness is real, and sometimes the truth remains hidden in the shadows.
Some stories don't end. They just go cold. For nearly 50 years, Roseann Sturtz was one of those stories. A face on a missing poster from 1975. And then silence. For the family, decades passed, haunted by the not knowing. For everyone else, she faded, forgotten. But sometimes buried things don't stay buried. Sometimes the evidence isn't found at a crime scene, but years later, tucked away in the mundane clutter of police archives. Not a smoking gun, but something stranger. A recording. A voice from the past captured on the grating magnetic tape. A confession waiting, unheard, in the dark. Baltimore, summer of 1975. Hot and loud. A city grappling with turbulent undercurrents, ongoing racial tensions, the drain of white flight to the suburbs, and a homicide rate nearly triple the national average. Danger felt present, woven into the fabric of the city. Amidst the simmering urban unease, Roseann Sturtz, known as just Anne, was 20 years old. She worked as a dancer downtown at the TikTok Club on Utah Street, carving out her independence. A young woman full of life. Friends noted she sometimes favored one leg, perhaps a reminder of a childhood clavicle fracture. She had dreams, a future seemingly stretching before her. Then, the night of August 24th, Rosanna finished her shift, stepped out of the club's lights into the humid Baltimore night, and vanished, swallowed by the city. A relative reported her missing later that same evening, but there was no immediate trace, no easy answers. Initial concern quickly curdled into dread as days bled into weeks. The phone didn't ring. Hope started to fray. Nearly 4 months passed in agonizing silence. And then, on December 15th, miles away from the downtown streets where Anne was last seen, in a secluded, wooded area off Route 108 in Columbia, Maryland, near what's now an industrial park, a grim discovery was made. Skeletal remains, found far from where she disappeared, suggesting transport, suggesting intention. The long wait for news ended, but not with relief, but with a cold, stark horror waiting to be identified. By early 1976, the green confirmation arrived. The skeletal remains belonged to 20-year-old Roseann Sturtz. Grief hit the family and friends hard. Investigators faced the daunting task of finding her killer, but the crime scene, ravaged by months of exposure and likely animal activity, offered very little. The state of the remains, the primitive forensic tools of the era. The trail was already ice cold, though a sketch based on the skull led to her identification via newspaper readers and fingerprint comparison. The investigation stalled. Who had done this remained unknown. But as Rosanna's case file gathered dust, a disturbing pattern was unfolding somewhere else in the region. New Year's Eve 1975, just months after Anne vanished, 24-year-old Kathleen Diane Cook was murdered in Catonsville after being lured from a nightclub. Then, on August 24, 1976, exactly 1 year to the day Rosanna disappeared, 23-year-old Peggy Ellen Pumpkin was abducted on a highway near Pikesville, then robbed, assaulted, and killed. That same dark period also saw the violent end of 16-year-old Lydia Victoria Norman in Randallstown. Separate tragedies, linked by geography, timing, and brutality. Slowly, a name began to surface, casting a long shadow over these cases: Charles William Davis Jr. By 1978, Davis was caught and convicted for the murders of both Kathleen Cook and Peggy Pumpkin, receiving consecutive life sentences. A predator was off the streets. But the question lingered, unavoidable. What about Rosanna? The timing, killed between Cook and Pumpkin. The suspected method, strangulation, like Lydia. The likely assault. The similarities were very glaring. By 1981, investigators were officially noting the parallels in MO. Could Davis, already convicted of 2 remarkably similar murders in the same time frame, be responsible for Roseann's death too? The suspicion was strong, palpable. Yet there was no hard proof tying him directly to her case back then. Was Charles Davis the man who stole Roseann's life and simply got away with it? For decades, the question remained unanswered. A hunting note in a cold, silent file. We're about to explore the crucial clues and scientific advancements that finally broke the silence. If you find these journeys toward long-awaited answers compelling, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support is vital in allowing us to continue piecing together these complex narratives. Now let's look at the evidence that held the key. 47 years. A lifetime of silence. Then, in 2022, Wade Zufall took over Roseann Sturtz' cold case. Digging through the musty archives of the Howard County Police Department, Zufall unearthed a 1981 letter from the state's attorney. It mentioned a grant of full immunity given to Charles William Davis Jr. in exchange for discussing the case. This wasn't just routine paperwork. It was a controversial gamble made decades prior, hoping to trade prosecution for answers in some unsolved case linked to Davis. The letter led Zufall to the corresponding evidence: a cassette tape, buried in a mislabeled box. An artifact holding a secret dormant for over 40 years. On that degrading magnetic tape, Davis's voice from 1981, described as flat and detached, recounted specifics of a young woman's murder. Details that aligned chillingly with Roseann's case. But the investigation hit a wall back then. When shown a photograph of Roseann, Davis paused, looked, and denied recognizing her. Without that positive ID, the interview seemed inconclusive. The tape was shelved. The immunity deal, apparently useless for this case, the potential confession, both lost to ambiguity. Another dead end. But Zufall, reviewing the case nearly 44 years later, couldn't let it go. He listened repeatedly. Was Davis lying here? Playing games, even then shielded by immunity? Zufall meticulously cross-referenced the interview against the files. Then he found it. Another photograph of Rosanna, one not used in the 1981 interview. This one, Zufall felt, captured her appearance more accurately from the time of her murder. A cold hunch formed. This might be the key needed to unlock the decades-old secret. We are now in late 2024. Charles William Davis Jr., now 77 years old, incarcerated since 1978, sits across from Zufall. Zufall places the different photograph on the table. Rosanna, from 1975, the new picture. The air thickens. Davis stares at the image. A long silence. And then, something breaks. A flicker behind the eyes. A subtle shift in his hardened expression. A low guttural sound. And then, finally, after nearly 50 years, the confession. He told Zufall he met Roseann at a Howard County bar that night on August 24th, 1975. After they left, an argument escalated. He strangled her. Investigators believe he also stabbed her before dumping her body in those woods. Davis claimed he confessed now for family closure. And then, a final chilling detail sealing the admission offered unprompted. She still had the scar. A specific marker only someone present at her death would likely know. The monster in the machine had not lied. Just needed the right face, the right key, to finally speak. The confession echoed, a truth unearthed after decades. For Roseann's family, informed in November 2024, learning the details, the actual date of her death, provided answers to questions that had haunted them for nearly half a century. But the relief was fractured by the hard reality of that 1981 immunity deal. Granted in exchange for Davis's discussion back then, the deal remained legally binding. The current Howard County State's Attorney Rich Gibson reviewed and reaffirmed it in 2024. The stark result: Charles William Davis Jr., despite his detailed confession, could not be charged for the murder of Roseann Sturtz. Justice in the form of prosecution for this specific crime was legally impossible. The Howard County Police Department officially cleared the case in March of 2025. Davis would remain incarcerated for the rest of his life due to his other convictions, but not for taking Roseann's life. The family released a statement acknowledging the profound, lasting damage, stating that Davis destroyed the family and the childhoods, while also expressing deep appreciation for Zufall and the department's relentless work in finally bringing them peace. It's a complex, unsettling conclusion. A 50-year-old mystery solved by persistent police work and a resurrected recording. Zufall's dedication gave Roseann her name back from the cold silence. But the system, bound by past decisions, prevented full accountability. The file is closed. Yet the knowledge that Davis confessed, admitted the details, but faced no specific penalty for this life he took, leaves a distinct chill. How does a truth stay buried for so long, only to surface through a near-forgotten tape? What weight does a confession carry when shielded by immunity? That final detail, she still had the scar, confirms his presence, his memory, Yet the legal consequence is absent. It forces us to question the nature of justice, of memory, and the secrets held by time itself. How many other truths remain entombed in old files, shielded by technicalities or the simple passage of years? The monster in that machine spoke, but the echo raises as many unsettling questions as it does for answers. Next time, we travel to the remote highways of South Central Oregon. A man heading north on a long road trip finds himself stranded, his car failing him miles from anywhere familiar. Help arrives in the form of a stranger. A white sedan pulls over and an offer is made. The ride is accepted, but the driver is unknown, his face unclear on grainy surveillance footage. The car itself raises alarms, potentially missing its license plates. He gets in, intending only to return to his vehicle, and vanishes. His own car is later found abandoned on a forest road, miles away, somehow drivable. Hours after he disappeared, his phone sends out one last haunting ping from deep within the woods. What happened to Paul Anthony Flores? Who was the man in the white Camry? Join us as we investigate the baffling disappearance from Highway 97.